are now not available for people to live in. That impacts our census numbers, that impacts our school funding, that impacts our state and federal funding, and they're also, not only are we not getting money, it ends up costing more money because there are police calls for service, high utilization, more electricity, all the things that have a cascading effect that impact the quiet enjoyment of neighborhoods. We also have brand new buildings, brand new townhomes in Claremont that have been sold, whole home short-term rental. It immediately takes opportunities from residents to live.
Thank you. Mr. Cohen?
I have questions about the measure that was just recently passed by the council that will be on your ballot for approval. However, I do support a vacancy tax and do support the idea that if you have two homes, one of which is empty and in affordability crisis, that maybe you can continue to pay a little bit more to ensure our city can afford to provide said services that we've been talking about tonight. But I believe that we have an opportunity to also close that gap differently with predictability and certainty. The city can't continue to find its way through this crisis with finding 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or 6 other little things to add on to tax. We have to find a way in which we can provide a comprehensive financial analysis so that you understand how much it actually costs to live in the city of San Diego, even if you have 2 or 3 homes. It's very important that we find a way to ensure folks understand the ways in which they can afford to live in the city. And the city council has an opportunity to do that. And I believe that we should not turn off any revenue generating opportunities, including short-term vacation rentals. I applaud the city for continuing to ensure that it meets the needs of its residents. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey?
Yes, the vacancy tax is problematic for several reasons. First and foremost, vacant homes have existed forever in San Diego. They're not responsible for the cost of living we're experiencing. But second, and most problematic, is that the vacancy tax is almost certainly illegal. It's already been thrown out of court before in other cities. In addition to that, imagine accepting the premise that a city is going to tax you for inactivity, for not doing something with your property. What's next? Are they going to tax you for not building an ADU in your backyard? Like, where would it end? And as it relates to the short-term vacation rentals, I actually find this conversation from city council fairly disingenuous when they point to the finger of short-term vacation rentals and say they're responsible for the cost of housing, the high cost of housing right now. The reason I find that a bit disingenuous is because it was the same city council that allowed the short-term rentals to begin in the first place and promised they would be regulated. For the city council, it's not about housing, it's about more money. And they promised that they would actually regulate the short-term vacation rentals, and they're not doing that, even though they are funded through the licensing fees from short-term vacation rentals. So start there.
Thank you. Mr. Cohen, we'll start this next question with you. How will you balance the city's budget and eliminate the deficit in 1 minute?
There you go. First one. We operate in a strong mayor form of government. This city passed the charter amendment that the mayor is the chief executive officer of the city. As one council member of 9, it is extremely important that we hear and ascertain the important priorities that mean the most to our district. How we balance that is we continue to find ways in which we can drive more revenue to the city. Folks who say we do not have a revenue problem in this city don't fully understand how it is that the city budget works. We have an opportunity to assess how we can continue to bring more money in, but also assess how it is that we can continue to cut spending. That is not on the backs of employees, that is not bringing us back, that is finding a way to get us back on the right track. We cannot go back. Our city is growing, and we need to find ways, as I mentioned before in my previous answer, to provide a comprehensive financial analysis to ensure you as a family in Claremont or you as a business have financial predictability and certainty to afford to live and operate here in the city of San Diego. That is incumbent upon the city to drive this mayor to deliver a budget that matters for us in this council. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey?
Every other organization in the country, whether it's private or public, is doing more with less. The city of San Diego is actually doing less with more. We literally had an all-time high record amount of tax revenue just last fiscal year. We have an all-time high record amount of staffing. Our performance is at an all-time low. Once again, the city is doing less with more than ever before. We could go back to 2015. Once again, our population has only increased by 1% since 2015, yet staffing has increased by 27%. So if we simply return to 2015 staffing levels, when performance was higher then than it is today, that would immediately close the structural deficit and add about $100 million surplus. If we then focus on our core responsibilities and stopped having some departments focus on activities that are outside of those core responsibilities, we would save tens of millions of dollars every single year, and there's a number of departments that fall into this category. So So one, we gotta get back to the basics and actually right-size City Hall and make meaningful reforms largely through managed competition to deliver better services for less for San Diego residents.
Thank you. Ms. Crosby?
First of all, this is definitely not the regular old city employees' fault, right? The city employees show up and they do the work for citizens every single day. There are many things. It's first, doing an assessment of all of our contracting. Are we getting a real return on investment on duplicative homeless services, duplicative contracts? How many corporations or companies that we're contracting with are going over budget? I think that when we are talking about outsourcing, it actually will end up costing more money because you know how to assess your employees and the work that you have because that is finite cost. We also need to be able to recapture a lot of money with law enforcement and fire response times because we need a much more robust relationship with the county for our homeless substance use behavioral health crisis. That is taking a lot of time and money and resources from Park and Rec, libraries, every single department. And when you start there, you'll end up taking layers of millions of dollars in savings citywide.
Thank you. Ms. Handler?
Thank you. I think the first step is the city needs to look at auditing and realigning the city top down to ensure that all city departments are sustainable and really working for the city of San Diego. As Richard said, we all live in a budget, right? We don't have some magical piggy bank in the sky that we get to bust open whenever we run out of money. And so we really need to tighten our purse strings. I've seen the city's budget expand, especially after the COVID pandemic. You know, we received all that COVID money and we didn't really tighten up our budget after the money dried up. I think some of the ways that we could look at too is with middle management. We have a high percentage of middle management jobs. These are non-classified, which means they're non-union jobs. They typically run 150 to 200,000. I think the city, if they would look at reducing those requisitions and get more value of service and frontline workers and resources for our city, we could really stretch our city dollars to work for us.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell?
So a lot of that imbalance between revenues and expenses, in my opinion, is due to not due diligence by the city council and by the city in general. So what I'm talking about is we've got golf courses that are being underutilized as profit generation centers. And, sorry. My bad, my brain's going blank. I've been talking to strangers every day and my battery seems to be a little down.
Balancing the budget and eliminating the deficit.
Balancing the budget. Well, so one interest in this race is that it's nonpartisan. So even though I've got very socially liberal tendencies, I can focus on being a bit more fiscally conservative in that respect. So part of it is about being very responsive to the city auditor. And then on top of that, trying to create as much public releases as possible. So when we're creating contracts, that there's a public record and that people can see that there's true competition and no one's getting any of that. Thank you.
Mr. Ricky?
First off, we need to be honest with ourselves. We constantly see the budget, over projections on revenue that are falling drastically short of what they're projecting it to be. We're seeing costs ballooning. If we do that on our normal lives, we end up bankrupt, right? If you go to the gas pump and you go, oh, I need 10 gallons of gas, and you budget for less than that, you're not going to have the money. We need to be doing that on the city budget. We need to be looking at things and actually being realistic about the projections. And if we're constantly falling short of our earnings that we're expecting to be getting back, we need to be adjusting that stuff and actually get back on track to realistic numbers.
Thank you. Mr. Shipley?
So balancing the budget, what is the budget? It's $2.1 billion, and we're running a structural deficit of $100 million on that. So how do we balance that? We need to confront wasteful spending. We have to curb corporate influence. We need to do everything we can to evaluate the current contracts, the service contracts that are bloated, make them merit-based. We need to tackle the big issues such as pension reform. Right? If we do that, then we'll avoid this looming bankruptcy. My campaign slogan is, San Diego, we can't afford it. And I say that in jest, and there's some laughter, but we cannot afford continued increasing property taxes, parking, trash. In other words, let's make sure that we resume and refocus on the core function of government, which is what? Spending taxpayer monies wisely. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ricky, will start. Mr. Ricky, will start this question. It's about homelessness and public safety. What's your solution to that?
Yeah, there's no magic bullet for those issues. Public engagement for public safety is a priority. Yeah, the police, we've had issues around the school, we've been talking to them. The number one thing is actually having people show up and actually make statements, right? If you see things, say things. A lot of times people aren't getting involved, and we're not having that. I'm constantly seeing petty theft at the schools, at the shopping centers, and nobody does anything about it. We see it on next door, we constantly see. Sorry, can you hear me now? So we're constantly seeing issues that are happening around town, and people are not getting involved. Doesn't mean you have to actually go and try to stop the crime or anything like that, but actually show up and give the report. That needs to be happening on both sides, not just us giving it, but the police department needs to be actually engaging with the public and trying to get those information and those. So, at least not quick. Yeah. As far as the homeless issues, we need to be dealing with that on a more comprehensive basis. There's a few different programs. Sunbury Branch is a great concept. There's a few other philosophies that would be better served. The current philosophy is not working. I think we're all seeing that. There's a lot of solutions out there.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Mr.
So I don't disagree with him. I think the current philosophy isn't currently working. And so the changes that I would make is, well, my heart aches for so many of these people. I carry extra socks and jackets and food in my car every day because you're sitting in an intersection and someone who looks like they're living in a third world country comes to walk by you. I like to stare them in the face, I don't want to look away. And part of that is them taking accountability for themselves. So I support a system that prioritizes people seeking help and not just handing things out. And then I also support police enforcement that reduces encampments and people sleeping on the streets and public drug usage. These were crimes when I was a kid. I don't know what happened, but I see people doing, quite wild things with police driving by, and I just want to support a humane approach that keeps the city safe and people don't want to walk around with their kids in a lot of these places. Thank you.
Mr. Super.
So with regards to homelessness, it's obviously an issue that's everyone's mind. What limited resources that we do have, we have to prioritize and make sure that we identify those homeless individuals that are violent, that are sexualized, that are a threat to our youth and our neighborhoods, and we need to get them off the streets, get them potentially the help they need. At downtown, there's approximately something like 1,000 to 1,200 beds, and they're being underutilized. We have to reach out to those homeless individuals and see if we can't get them into those shelters. And certainly we have to be compassionate. Back in law school, I started a group called HERE, helping eradicate the abuse of rights. And we talked to homeless people about due process concerns, what we can do to basically make life better. But at the end of the day, we have to prioritize the safety and eliminate the encampments, quite frankly, address those. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Havlin.
When it comes to homelessness, it's no secret that the city of San Diego does not have enough shelter spaces. But the remedies that we've seen presented by the mayor are not what works for our community. These big box shelters that don't really work or fit or have any resources near them or transit. I think with homelessness, we need safe shelters. We do need an expansion of what's called, has anyone ever heard of the Compass Station in PD? There's one coming to OB. It's called the Anchor Station. Love Thy Neighborhood is bringing that here. It's a soft launch. We're working with several of the interfaith leaders to bring resources to our unhoused. And I really think that due to it being a human rights issue, we really need to do all that we can to help them. But again, with the budget, resources that they want. And back to policing, again, we need to send the right people out to help address our unhoused. We need to set up our police officers, set them up for success. And again, send the right people and expand funding for like the PERT team so that we have the right people addressing these calls.
Thank you, Ms. Crosby.
Mental health and substance use services come from the county, and that is the main driver of law enforcement related homeless or unhoused people like interactions. It's also extremely expensive and a big drain. The problem is it is an institutional framework that forces the law enforcement to respond. So we're not able to have officers come out and take police reports because we need to make sure, and it's required, that they are responding to 911 calls to make sure that emergencies are closed. I started a program that helped connect high utilizers of emergency services. These are people that we have seen in our community. They call 911 500 times. They're not just in the hospitals, but they're also on the street, and they need real help. Like, it is inhumane to not provide the level of mental health and behavioral health services that the county needs to provide us. And we are able to work with the county to do that. And I would absolutely turn that program on again to make sure that there is a seamless path for people to get help to reduce law enforcement services.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey.
When you exclude California and New York from the national counts on homelessness, what you find is that the rates of homelessness are lower today across the nation than they were back in 2014. Let me repeat that. When you exclude California and New York from homeless counts, the number of homeless today in the nation is lower than it was back in 2014. So what happened from 2014 to now? Was it a lack of shelter space? No. Actually, what you find is that 20% of all shelter beds countywide are unoccupied on any given night. So what was it? It was a matter of, in 2014, due to changes in local and state laws, you reduced felonies to misdemeanors, and then you stopped prosecuting those misdemeanors. The fact of the matter is that there is no accountability right now for many of the individuals that live on our streets, and sadly, many of them are suffering from addiction. And you have drug dealers that are preying on that addiction, and how do they fuel that addiction? Oftentimes they commit crimes. When those crimes go unprosecuted and there's no accountability, then there's no incentive for those individuals to actually say yes to getting help and off the streets. That approach needs to change because it's been a failure.
Thank you, Mr. Coyne.
We cannot let another generation of leaders go by without ending our street homelessness crisis as we know it today. It is unacceptable that my organization, the Downtown San Diego Partnership, does a monthly count, and in February of 22, there were 2,800 individuals sleeping on the streets of downtown. It's unacceptable that we continue to have lack of accountability and transparency with how it is that these resources can continue to be delivered to see the results that we know we can achieve. When you walk outside of your door, you're walking downtown, or you're walking in your neighborhood, and you see someone who needs help, you know you have two options. You can call 911, you can call the non-emergency line. And if either doesn't qualify for either of those lines, what do? I get a done-app request for someone who needs help? That's unacceptable. I believe that government can and should do better for people, and we should deliver a system that makes sense, that centralizes that accountability, but delivers the results that we know it can deliver. As someone who is open to safe sleeping shelter, I can tell you, we have to rely on our existing resources that we have, and we cannot continue to be the region's dumping ground for all of their homeless as well. It is incumbent upon the region to step up and do more as well.
Thank you very much. We'll start with Ms. Crosby on this one. Should the city move away from the strong mayor model?
No, I think that we need to have real conversations and have strength and be able to speak up when we know that policies are not working for the working people. And I think that when we see something, we need to say something. And when things happen behind closed doors and people are told about it later, it is almost too late for something to happen. I think that it's still in its youth, and I think that there needs to be camaraderie on the council in order for the council to drive policies that actually help everyone. And I think it's just really easy for everyone to just apply blame in one point, right? This is like a systemic problem that's happened for decades. We cannot blame the pension. We cannot blame, one particular party or another. This has been a long time coming, and people just need to start getting along and go back to the basics for the people.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey.
For those of you that might be unfamiliar with the strong mayor form of government versus the city manager form of government, those are the two models of government that are commonly followed throughout the nation. Nearly every single city, including the city of Coronado and every other city in San Diego County, are a city manager form of government, where the city council and the mayor serve as the board of directors, and you hire a public administration professional to run the day-to-day operations of the city in conjunction with the policies set by the city council. The one exception, the one city that does not have a city manager form of government is the city of San Diego. Now think about this. Many city managers go to school for years. They work their way up through operations, through development, and end up in the city manager role. So they have extensive experience actually managing a municipal corporation. Compare that to some of the leaders that are in positions of power right now that have never had more experience than simply managing their office. And now they're tasked with running a multi-billion-dollar organization that has tens of thousands of employees. It's almost not fair to them, but it's mostly not fair to the residents of San Diego. So yes, I would be in favor of returning to a city manager form of government.
Thank you, Mr. Coyne.
I, as mentioned earlier, had the opportunity to work on the city council floor where I've seen the budget crafted and believe it certainly has an opportunity to be reformed to better deliver both transparency to this council or the fiduciary agents for you and of this city in a strong mayor form of government, but also they have an opportunity to, I believe, deliver greater transparency for how it is that this budget is met. To be honest, this has been a question that's come up a lot, largely because I believe of the lack of trust that we have currently in our city, as mentioned. I'm open to exploring it. Ultimately, this is a vote of the people that will have to come up, that folks will have to talk about. And I believe that we as a city have to reckon with how it is that the chief executive officer comes to the fiduciary agents to present the budget, hear the budget, wrestle with the budget, and determine that we get the best outcome. It's very clear that we do not have the best outcome that we are getting currently with the budget as is. The system of government, I believe, we have an opportunity to discuss. I'm not totally convinced that returning to a strong mayor form of government solves our systemic budgetary crisis. I do believe we have to explore it and determine how it is that the chief executive officer, the mayor, can deliver and show up, thank you, to answer questions to the city council.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Ms. Hadley.
My thoughts on strong mayor is that it doesn't work because we don't have a strong council. The reason strong mayors will work is if we had council members who actually talked back and challenged and questioned the mayor's policies rather than just being rubber stamps and going along to get along. That's what we have in our city council right now. They're not here for us. They're here for their next election. They're here for their next opportunity, or they're here because they're afraid they can't stand up because they don't have a spine. And we need someone who's going to stand up and talk back, which I have a pattern of doing, and I have a track record of doing. Because we need that more than ever. As Richard said, a city manager is someone who's trained. We're at the mercy of whoever has the most money and gets elected. And some of those people don't have any business balancing a budget because they can't. And we need to look and build a city that works for us. So I would be open, if the people of San Diego would, to introducing a city manager. It would allow us not to have whiplash and more consistency with our spending and our goals as a city.
Thank you, Mr. Ricky.
So I agree that having a city manager is very beneficial. You have somebody that's trained and not a political figure that's doing a job. That's a very beneficial thing. But it doesn't matter. Honestly, if we have a strong mayor or a city manager, we've had the budget crisis during both systems. Main thing is accountability. If we can't get accountability, it doesn't matter if we go back to the city manager system. If we don't have accountability in the city government, if we don't have people we can trust and they're going to do what they're supposed to do, then we're always going to have these problems.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson.
So a strong mayor, yes, indeed. What's the alternative? A weak mayor? The mayor needs to lead the city as the CEO. And so of course we want someone that will be strong. How do we define strength, right? Accountability is one very important way to do so. The mayor should be strong and listen to the city council and be accountable to the city council. If elected, that's something that we need to make sure that we insist upon. The mayor listens to the needs and identifies the best possible solutions and implements those solutions. Thank you. Oh, I also want to say that city manager, yes, totally open to that. If that's going to be best for the constituency, then let's implement it. Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
To follow up on what Mr. Bailey was talking about the structure. So when the strong mayor system, we as potential council members would basically be like the Senate to the mayor's president. And while I think I would be interested in increasing my powers and getting rid of the strong mayor system if I were to win, I don't think that's a huge priority, but to back off what Mandy was saying is that the reason it's not working is because our current city council just goes along with everything. And I'll say, we all know, live in District 2, yeah, so Jen Campbell has not been great for us. You know, she hasn't been around. And I think that having more accountability would help. And so whether I'm in a strong mayor system or if we want to change it, it doesn't really matter. What I would be is just a voice for the community of District 2. And I've got no other corporate interests or nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question. What is your position on paid parking in Balboa Park and possibly Mission Bay Park in the future?
I oppose it. I oppose paid parking at Mission Bay. I oppose even the potential of paid parking at our municipal parks. I think it's ridiculous, and it's not going to do anything except cause more harm.
Ms. Havner?
I'm not in favor of the city council's proposal to charge for parking at Balboa Park. It's a city asset, and I don't believe our city should be creating a city of have and have-nots. We are in a fiscal crisis, but the city needs to look other directions rather than looking to the constituency to address their failure of managing our money. We need to, again, ensure that, what was the question? Sorry, I'm rolling down a little bit, sorry. Paid parking. Oh, paid parking, yeah. But back to that, they paused on beach parking. But again, I wouldn't hold your breath because they talked about coming for beach parking, and I'm a big believer in coastal access. The cheapest thing you can do here in San Diego is take your family to the beach. And the California Constitution says you have access to the coastline as well. And so if you are charging for parking or impeding parking, I believe that's a coastal access issue.
Mr. Cohen?
Thank you. As a former educator, I had an opportunity to teach a first-year leadership course, and sometimes I think it's important that leaders take a step back, take an assessment, and realize where their decisions, right, have had an impact on folks. It's very clear that folks at Balboa Park, the businesses, the restaurants, are sharing data that they're down significantly year over year compared to where they were. I think the city has an opportunity to pause and assess said program to ensure that the program continues to not hurt and harm their tenants any further. I will tell you though, as I mentioned before, we as a region are the playground for a lot of folks in our particular region as the city. How is it fair that we and you as the taxpayers continue to fund a program, right, that others continue to take advantage of? They don't pay anything for. 18 cents of every dollar of your property taxes stay in the city. The rest go to the county and go to the state. How is it that we continue to recover services to deliver everything we've been talking about here today? The city needs to sit down and reassess the program to ensure that it can meet the needs of our population, including those at the beach. If we can't, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey.
90% of the people that come to Coronado Beach are not Coronado residents. they're from outside of Coronado. But Coronado doesn't charge for parking at Coronado Beach. Why? Because public spaces are meant to be for the public. Balboa Park had free parking for its entire existence. It went through economic depressions, it went through world wars, but for some reason, in the past couple of years, the city has been so poorly financially mismanaged, it decided to start charging for parking at Balboa Park. That is wrong, I'm adamantly opposed to it. Not only am I opposed to it, you guys can keep a secret, I'll let you in on something. Tomorrow in the Daily Transcript is going to be a notice of a publication for a citizens initiative to outright repeal the Balboa Park parking fees. So stay tuned on that.
Thank you. Ms. Crosby?
I don't support charging people to go to the park, and the reason why is we already paid for it. There's not that many places to go anymore. And it loses access and community for so many people who rely on it. If we are gonna be charging for it, I think that we should treat it like a residence pass. We have our golf courses where you get a significant discount, but I think that we are a tourist city, and so much of what we have framed has been for outsiders, as opposed to remember that the people who live here and are invested in here have so much to give, and they want to be part of it, and then we need to make sure that that remains. I run at Mission Bay multiple times per week, all bits of Mission Bay, and I see a lot of regular seniors and kids and families there, and I know that they're okay, and they know that they can go there because they can afford it, because it's free. And if we start prioritizing everyone else over San Diegans, it's going to be worse and worse.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell?
So, I 100% hate the Balboa parking fees, and in general, the council has to approve these fees because they don't have many other ways to increase their budget, as Josh was talking about. The majority of their money from taxes comes from the county. What I think, first off, I've been broke in San Diego. I've lived most of my life being a broke San Diego. And so I'm very in tune with a lot of these public, not public services, but public locations. Balboa Park, the beach, Kate Sessions, you know. San Diego's a good city to be born in. For all of its problems, it's a beautiful city. And we have some of the most diverse flora and fauna around. And so I just think it is such an illogical thing to take a free public park that we also have museums in. When we're driving down traffic to the museums where we make profit. It doesn't give us profit. We're losing on the taxes. What we want to do is drive more people to Balboa Park until parking becomes such an issue that maybe we start charging fees. But the reality, oh sorry, we need public transit there too.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons.
So I'm absolutely against the parking fees. And why did the city do it in the first place, right? We want to generate revenue, but it's not actually working that way. We're hurting the local businesses that rely on that free parking to bring people in. We're hurting tourism. People do not want to pay for it. They've been vandalized. That increases the fees. I'm glad to hear that it's being repealed. It can't happen soon enough. Remember my campaign slogan, if you would? San Diego, we can't afford it, right? So anything that's going to increase those fees and not adhere to common sense policies, I'm against. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start with Mr. Mitchell on this one. Who is the biggest dollar contributor to your campaign?
It's my mom, Kelly Mitchell. Closely followed by my aunt.
Thank you, Mr. Reddy.
I honestly, I don't remember his name. He was a gentleman I met at a recent libertarian event, and he's not from San Diego. He just wanted to help out. It's the largest donor I have.
Mr. Simmons.
I have 0 donors, and it's probably going to stay that way. I feel bad about asking people for money. Remember, we can't afford it, right? So I don't feel like hitting you up for money. What money I do put in, it'll be my own. It's going to be grassroots. It's going to be somewhere hovering under $2,000. You're not going to see a lot of signs, expensive mailers, or posters, banners on the freeway. Can't afford it. So 0 donors at this point. Maybe that'll change, but currently that's the way it is. Where's my brother? He's got some money.
Ms. Hayward?
I can appreciate the perils of being a first-time candidate. You know, I ran 4 years ago, and I had a shoestring budget, very grassroots. This time around, I can afford the print on both signs, you know, I have a staff. You know, it takes a lot to raise money for politics. And I'm proud that all of my donors, a majority of them, come from inside my neighborhood. Because don't get it twisted, our neighborhood is up for sale right now. And a lot of times, it's the person that has the most money, not necessarily the person with the best intentions. And so, again, my top donors are local residents who really care about our community, who felt ignored by Jen Campbell, and really want sustainable and smart growth. Those are a majority of my top donors and why they're donating to me.
Thank you. Ms. Crosby?
Just so people know what top donor means, like when you're a candidate, it has to come from an individual, and the maximum for each race is $800. So it'd be a total of $1,600, just, you know, it's not like $10,000, you know, something wild. But like, biggest donor, obviously, would be my husband, because if he didn't like have a money, I'd be really offended. But it's also, there are people in this room, my in-laws who live in San Diego. You know, there are people who trust the fact that we are looking at evidence-based policies in order to make a difference. As someone who stands up in court for victims of violence to make sure that they have confidence in the system, I'm gonna do that here. So there are people who are invested in this campaign because they know that I'm an independent voice. But it's also not just the donation of money. It's time, energy, my child. He's like, Mom, I'm gonna come home one day. Stay soon. So it's more than just the dollars, it's what work are you putting in? And I'm here to put the work in.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey?
My mom is the largest contributor to my campaign as well, different mom than Mr. Mitchell. But I would say that the biggest contributors to my campaign so far from a non-monetary standpoint is some of the volunteers I've had. And they're contributing far more than the maximum of $1,600 just to their time and efforts on the campaign. And I will really encourage everyone in this room, if you find someone here tonight that you really want to get behind, I would encourage you to make even just a nominal contribution, because it is really tough to be up here. There's going to be several of these candidate forums. I mean, people are knocking on doors for the next several months. Even a little financial contribution goes a long way. So if someone up here tonight strikes you, Mr. Sioux Falls, donate to your campaign. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. It means a lot. It means a lot.
Mr. Cohen?
Thank you for the question. I think it's really important. Not only are policies important, but tracking candidates, right, and funding. As Nicole started to allude to, our local ordinances prohibit PACs and corporations, right, from contributing to our campaign. So all of our money from individuals, either outside the city, as some have alluded to, right, or inside if folks find that align. I would also want to highlight that it's extremely important that folks understand where it is that you can access all of our donors. If you go to sandiego.gov, you can go to the city clerk's website, you can search for our Forms 400 series. You can find a list of all of our donors, top donors, as alluded to, 800. You can contribute up to 800 before June. After that, you can contribute another 800 if we move on. I have a number of individuals who have supported my campaign. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's start the next question with Ms. Hadley. How would you address or contain the costs the city is paying for wrongful death and other liability issues?
I think that's the most frustrating part. When you go down to city council and you see settlement after settlement after settlement being paid out for trip and falls, people harming themselves while walking or using the city infrastructure. We need to, again, build a city that's more reactive and investing in our city, investing in our infrastructure. And so I think that we need to take a proactive approach and really identify the most dangerous infrastructure in sidewalks, streets throughout our communities, and then prioritize them with fixing that infrastructure and prioritizing the funding, because we know that when we go down to City Hall and we see someone getting paid out $100,000, $200,000 for a trip and fall, it really makes your mind think about what that money could have been invested or used for that would have better served the city of San Diego. And so those are the ways that I would look to reduce those settlements at City Hall.
Ms. Quinn?
You gotta fix the stuff, right? You know that it's there, and you have to fix the stuff, because you're gonna pay for it now, you're gonna pay more for it later. And it's all about doing the work and being proactive and knowing what has happened before. Like there, case after case, you can look at the fact pattern and then triage. You know, even though our resources are thin, you have people who work in each of these communities. And then everything can't be a priority at once, but you start at the top and you work your way down, right? One pothole at a time until the street is done. I went into Discount Tire because I had one tire that was not doing so well, and then by the time I got there, I had another tire that wasn't doing so well. And the guy's like, yeah, you're in San Diego. And that is really disappointing, because whether it's wrongful death or tires that are getting popped or damage to people's alignment, it is things that we see, we know, right? And how much money can we save by doing the work sooner? A lot. And you just add up all of those costs together.
Mr. Bailey?
The reality is, in a city as large as San Diego, with millions of visitors that come through here every single year, that settlements are oftentimes a cost of doing business. They are just a regular cost for the city, because even if you're doing everything correctly, statistically you're going to end up with doing something wrong that's going to result in a settlement. Oftentimes it's cheaper to go the settlement route than it is to fight it in court, and that's just the nature of the law here in the state of California. However, there are a lot of things within the city's control that it's not addressing. As Ms. Havlicek mentioned, you have to be proactive with your infrastructure. Right now, the city of San Diego, according to the city's auditor, is underfunding maintenance of our streets by $100+ million a year. They're underfunding city facilities like parks and bathrooms by $120 million a year. You have all these different trip hazards on the curbs that are now the responsibility of residents, but now residents have to pay several $1,000s to get a permit to get a qualified contractor to come out there and remove that trip hazard. That is totally unacceptable. That it is within the city's control. So yes, settlements are generally a cost of doing business. However, we have to address what's actually within our control in a proactive manner.
Mr. Mitchell?
So, in general, I basically agree with everything that Mr. Bailey said, but I didn't hear any candidate talk about this. The first thing that came to mind was the $30 million wrongful death settlement about the kid who was shot in the back in San Diego. And so one thing that I'm interested in is I think that means that, let's say, there should be at least a $30 million a year budget for de-escalation tactics for the police. I think we have a very effective police force in San Diego, and I think that's partially a luxury of us being a military town. So a lot of our police officers come in with expert training. But it isn't to say that America is well into doing a good job at developing their police officers through de-escalation and cost reduction tactics. And so the reality is one mistake costs $30 million. So I think a lot of ground could be gained by equipping these officers with better ways to deal with the homeless and the rest of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Coyne?
I didn't realize until I worked at the city that the city's actually self-insured. And so what's different and unique, right, about what we may go through with our insurance company, the city is self-insured. And that is often why you see the opportunity to settle more consistently based on the business and the self-insurance that they have. It's also why we cannot continue to invest in our employees and invest in our infrastructure at the current rate. We have got to get our city back on track to ensure that we are providing our city employees the right resources and the right efficiencies that we've been talking about to ensure that they meet the moment that our city demands. And that means assessing overtime, assessing mental health, physical health of our employees. I talked to 2 employees last year. They were talking about how they did not have enough toilet paper to address some of the concern, to address their needs, right, and the resources that they need to conduct their day-to-day tasks. That's unacceptable, and that contributes to our risk. That's what we're talking about. We have to continue to ensure our city is funded adequately to ensure that we meet the needs to prevent risk, which is exactly what we're talking about.
Thank you. Mr. Rickey?
So the fact that we're talking about repairing infrastructure because of payouts is ridiculous. We should be repairing the infrastructure right off the get-go. This shouldn't even be an issue. Right? We are going to always have payouts. There's always going to be lawsuits. There's always going to be accidents. But that shouldn't be the main driver for us to go after this repair infrastructure. We should be doing that right off the bat. There's no excuse for it. As Mr. brought up here about the payouts for law enforcement actions, we need to be spending more on training. We need to be spending more to support the law enforcement, and not just in their direct operations, but also in prosecuting the criminals that need to be prosecuted. They feel like they have the support of the city, so that everybody's able to do their jobs properly. And when we do have bad actors, we can get rid of those bad actors.
Thank you. Mr. Supin?
So as someone who's actually sued cities on wrongful death claims, these are very serious cases, right? If we can prevent them, wonderful, we should. Make sure that we spend the taxpayer monies wisely and invest in the infrastructure, from repairing potholes to gopher holes. Once the lawsuit is filed, it is an insult when plaintiffs sue and they get communications from the city council that we're gonna offer you $50,000 for a life. So in order to properly address these issues, we have to engage seriously in alternative dispute resolution. That means good faith mediation, binding arbitration, making sure insurance pays that bill wherever possible. Thank you.
Okay. The next question is, the San Diego Police Department's budget is over $500 million. Do you think this is too much, too little, or just right? Mr. Supin?
So honestly, I don't know. We're gonna have to engage in due diligence and evaluate that. There's a lot of calls for increased police officers. I know Mr. Bailey mentioned the 300 officers that we should add to the police force. That's great if we can afford it. But San Diego, remember my campaign slogan, we can't afford it. So we've got to evaluate intensely every expenditure increase, because it's going to affect us all if we don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell?
Yeah, so in the $2.1 billion city budget, I believe the police is about 700. And I appreciate his honesty, and I'll reiterate that. I don't know fully. But what I can say is I do want to equip the police officers with support, like he mentioned, to get some people off the streets and feel like they have support from the community. But I also have a lot of questions and concerns about like remote tracking and license plate readers. And sure, this is nice for a line item that we recovered this many stolen vehicles, but I take the AI threats very seriously. And I don't want to create the infrastructure for a police state in the future personally. Generally, I do support police officers. I think they're great community members and good people. And mostly I want to support their training to make sure that they feel like community stewards and people don't feel afraid when they're following them, you know?
Mr. Ricky?
So the current budget for the police department, I believe, is lacking in certain areas. The overall budget itself, I think, can be realigned. I think staffing can be changed, and we should increase the number of police officers we have. I think there's better ways to do it. I think overtime budgets are a very, very big killer in our budget when we look at those things. I agree that I don't want a police state. I'm not a big fan of cameras watching everybody, checking where you go, facial recognition, plate readers knowing exactly what you do and where you are. I'm not a big fan of that, but I'm also a big fan of community involvement. Now, I tried to volunteer. I had to go all the way to Chief Wall to actually get permission just to be able to become a volunteer police officer. It's a whole long step. I have to do it all on my own dime. I wish the city would actually be looking at other opportunities to bring in people that were willing to actually commit time to be part of, whether it is actually as a law enforcement officer or helping out on the PERT teams or other issues. If we can do that as a community and not actually have to pay large sums.
Thank you. Ms. Hattie?
The $500 million budget for San Diego Police Department, I do think there's an opportunity for all budgets here, all departments in our city to reduce their budget. But back to the conversations about overtime, we don't have enough police officers to address the public safety in San Diego. And so a lot of ways that those police officers are helping support our community is through overtime. And so if we would pay our police officers a competitive wage, I think we could help with that recruitment. But again, I think there's some opportunities for us to look at what we're investing in, you know? I grew up in a home where police were coming to my home. I had a brother who had addiction issues, and a lot of times when police show up, they're just cataloging a crime. They're not really preventing a crime. And I'd like to see more investment into training them to ensure that the outcomes and their engagement that they have with the community ends in a positive way that doesn't set us up for any lawsuits in the future. But again, that's all I have to say about police budget.
Mr. Coyne?
I am the proud older brother of a police officer, and we should do everything we can to ensure that our police department has the resources that it needs to be successful to continue to be America's safest city. With that said, I look forward to, if elected as city council member, working with the police chief and the Police Officers Association to assess where we can find efficiencies in modern day policing. Not only should we be assessing what calls we're responding to, as alluded to, with mobile crisis response team, with other sort of low-level crisis intervention, some of these calls need to be assessed to ensure that we are also sending the bill to the county, and you, the taxpayer, are recovering that money to ensure that our police officers are responding to bank robberies, other issues that matter. Not having the mental health crisis that we know to be on the street is the response that I believe the county should be responding to. With that said, I've been supportive of assessing how it is we can find efficiencies with policing through the license plate readers or cameras. You have seen a lot of crimes solved recently, and I believe that the city has an opportunity to ensure we can deliver that more efficiently together. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey?
There are certainly reforms that can and should happen within every single department at City Hall. However, you, the public, need to be aware that there are fewer police officers today than there were back in 1990. Okay, so there are fewer police officers today than there were back in 1990. As a percentage of the overall budget, the city's police department budget is actually lower today than it was just a few years ago. Okay, so what explains the situation we find ourselves in with all this overtime? Well, this is one of those counterintuitive positions where if you actually had additional officers, you would reduce overtime. You'd be able to do more with less and actually maybe reduce the city's police department budget by bringing on additional police officers. When we look at the key performance metric within the police department, what we find is that police response time for priority 1 calls are 3 times higher today than they were 10 years ago. Why? Because over 50% of all the calls today to 911 are related to the homeless issue. And right now at City Hall, their policy is that a police officer has to make 4 contacts with a homeless individual before they can hold them accountable for their actions. So you have fewer officers and a policy that holds the people that are calling 911 the most unaccountable. That's a recipe for disaster that's costing you, the taxpayers, a lot of money.
Thank you, Ms. Crosby?
One thing a lot of people don't know is that the San Diego City Charter, which is, like the constitution of the city, actually has in it that the police budget is a budget priority. So that's number one. Number two, there are, general national requirements for response time, which means that's why we're paying millions and millions of dollars for overtime, because it takes time to train. It takes time to onboard, and that doesn't happen overnight. And even once you have people onboarded and they're responding, even if our response times were quick, we need people who are investigating the crimes. We need people to follow up. We want people to be there. So when we're talking about, one, adding infrastructure like body-worn cameras to make sure that there is accountability out there in the field. We're talking about making sure that we want the police to be there, but we also want them to solve crimes. It's like we do need to be realistic about our expectations of what that number looks like, especially because one, it's a charter budget item, and two, it's important to everyone.
Thank you. All right, we're going to finish questions and move on to closing statements. But before we do, I'd like to thank you all for being such an attentive audience and asking such good questions. Unfortunately, we can't get through all of them, but there'll be more candidate forums, I'm sure. The League of Women Voters has a website that provides valuable information on the candidates and ballot initiatives at local, state, and federal level. Vote 411 is one of the resources you can use. Okay, we'll start with closing statements. Bill announced in order we did openings, so Mr. Supla, you'll go first.
Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight, and to the League of Women's Voters and the Claremont Town Council. So we have a lot of examples of politicians that overpromise and underdeliver, right? Promising free stuff. We're going to give you free transportation, free childcare, and they're swept into power, and they can't make good on those promises. I plan on doing the opposite. I will underpromise and overdeliver. In fact, I only have one promise that I will make to you, and it's this. If elected, I will quit my current job and go to work full-time for you. My wife, if she was here, we can't afford it. We need to fight for a better San Diego. San Diego should be a shining example of what America can be like, and it can happen here. I know we can make it happen. If you want to take a chance on me, I would appreciate it. I'm going to stick around. I'd love to talk to you more. My website again is sddistrict2.com, and if you want to call me, I'm at 619-930-6309. Better call Paul. I appreciate your time. That number again, 619-930-6309. If I don't get back to you right away, maybe you'll understand. I appreciate all the candidates here tonight, and God bless you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ricky?
Well, again, I'd like to thank everybody for showing up. That's the biggest part of all this, right? It's getting engaged in our community and actually showing up. I have actually asks for you.
Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2.
Push whoever you're
1, 2. Testing 1, 2.
find out what they're saying and what they're going to do. Is otherwise,
Testing.
accountability, we won't demand the accountability. You guys are here asking for it. I appreciate that. Continue that. You guys want to see me? I'm around town. If you want to contact me, you can find me. You can go to my website, mikericky.com. You can reach out to me through that. I'm willing to talk to anybody, anywhere about any issue. I have ideas, but you guys all have ideas too. I want to see those ideas come out. I want to see people actually engage, neighbors talk to neighbors, so we can actually facilitate change. If we're just sitting here talking one-sided, we don't have any change or any real in conversation. But if you go home and you talk to your neighbors, tell them what you heard at your home, what you liked about these candidates, maybe we can actually have real change and real conversation start to get. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell?
Thank you to the League of Women's Voters for inviting me, and thank you guys all for spending your time to sit here and listen to all of us talk and share your concerns with the community. And also thank you guys for, I like having a big number. I mean, this means that a lot of people are engaged and want to make the community better. But at the end of the day, I'm just a normal person. I've grown up in this city. I've seen it change in some ways for the better and a lot of ways for the worse. And I don't see a lot of, adult in the room management at all levels of government. And everyone wants to run up a deficit and make me pay for it. And I wanna raise a family in the city, so I would be super transparent. I would only be passing things that I think make the city better for the average person. And whether that's conservative or liberal, the policy, it would be policy by policy, and I would be super transparent, and anyone can talk to me. Like, my website is jacobmitchell2026.com. A few people have reached out to mine. And yeah, I love to meet new people, and I'll admit I'm running into inefficiencies because this is my first time around. I filing these 410 forms and creating a political committee, it's not easy work, And if you guys choose to donate on my site, I will tell you that there's nothing other than elbow grease and printer ink and paper, That's my only expense. But I truly appreciate your time. I hope you guys choose to come up and talk to me. And in reality, I just want to live in the city forever. So whether I'm a politician or just a neighbor, please come.
Leadership comes down to one simple question. Who are we here to serve? Public service has always been about remembering who we are and why we're here. It's about all of us. That's what the city is, that's why we're running. We want to represent you. My family came to San Diego because of the military. My husband nearly lost his life about a decade ago. And that near-death experience, it changed our lives dramatically. It also taught me something very important. Service is not a slogan. It's a responsibility. And over the years, I've tried to live up to that responsibility. I've been showing up for my community in a lot of ways, whether it's with traffic safety, e-bike safety, smart growth, protecting our coastlines, just being responsive. You know, we haven't, in my opinion, had any representation these last 8 years. And a lot of this didn't start because, you know, I want to be in charge. It comes out of a space of frustration. Not having a city that's not working for us, not having a representative at City Hall. But I also know something else, that when communities come together, we're powerful. We are very powerful. And we need to lift up our voice and unite and stand up to these status quo politicians who are coming to represent us, but they don't care about our neighborhood. They don't care about you. They care about their job, they care about the power, they care about their next profession or their next steps, and we deserve better than that. So when I become your city council member, you're gonna be my #1 client. I wanna listen to you, and I believe that is gonna be the greatest success for us to build a city that works for us. Come join me. Let's bring the community back to City Hall. Vote for Mandy Havlet.
Thank you. Mr. Bailey?
We're all, if you're familiar with the slogan for San Diego, America's Finest City. When you walk into City Hall right now, there's a sign on the door that says San Diego City Hall. Underneath that sign it says America's Finest City, except that it's missing 7 letters. This is the same door that every single politician walks through, the mayor, the city council, staff members, but also our residents, also our visitors. And forgive me, but if you don't have enough pride to fix the sign on the front door of City Hall with the wherewithal, then I question whether or not you're going to be able to deliver the services you're promising to San Diego residents. Now, if you're surprised to see the former 2-term mayor of Coronado standing before you today running for San Diego City Council, well, you're in good company, because so am I. This was not something I was planning to do. I own 2 businesses that operate in the district. And after I left office and I moved into San Diego and I started focusing more on what City Hall was doing, I could not ignore that the bad policies that are in place at City Hall are what is responsible for the condition the city finds itself in right now. And so if you want to see better policies, strictly better policies, for a better San Diego, then I encourage you to give me consideration for your vote for San Diego City Council District 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Crosby?
Thank you everyone for being here. I'm Nicole Crosby and I'm running for San Diego City Council because, again, San Diego needs to work for the working people. It needs to work for the people who are here. I'm a mom, I'm a deputy city attorney, I've prosecuted, I've been in public service for over 20 years. I know, I don't know. But the important part about that is you do that for the public good. You do that to protect the people. You do that because toxicity eats the system from the inside. Making people angry and petty and blaming as opposed to holding your head high, being professional, and going for the evidence and doing things for the right reasons, that's the way that we need to be moving this train. You know, going back to some of the things we didn't get to talk to, I've written grants and gotten millions of dollars for the city. For infrastructure, we can do that and make so much more money. There is lacking in grants here, and we can make money there. Number 2, pensions. Stop blaming the pensions. No City of San Diego employee gets Social Security. That is 6.2% savings instantly to the city, which means that 6.2% just goes into the pension. And also, you have individuals who are working here that pay into it. So just put the money where it's supposed to be. Don't mismanage it. We need to be making sure that the information we are getting is accurate that it's true, that we're looking at the sources, and we're being serious about it. We also have to think about confrontation. I said we need confrontation. That doesn't mean people are angry at each other. It means that we need to do the hard work for the people. I want people in this community, in this room, in this city, to not think about government. Because the moment you start thinking about government, it's doing something wrong. A vote for Nicole Crosby is a vote for the people. Victory for the people is going to be based on evidence, on trust, on accountability, and strength, professionally. Thank you.
Mr. Coyne?
Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I think that it's an important part of our democracy that you are here, you're asking questions and hearing answers to how it is that we choose to see the future of our city. And it's been true, it's been mentioned, our slogan for our city is America's finest city. And it's also not wrong that I believe that we can build a finer city. I don't think that anyone up here, we wouldn't be up here if we felt things were going according to plan. I don't think you would be here also if you felt things were going according to plan. It's time to get the city on the right track. We cannot bring our city backwards. We are a growing city. We have an opportunity to meet the needs of a growing city. And with growth comes tension. And what I believe as a former crisis counselor, what I believe we can do is have honest conversations about the care and compassion that we have for our city and how we achieve that result. And that's done by ensuring that we have folks on the city council that have the experience on day one to address these concerns. What we're talking about here today, parking, trash, all these fees, these are all things that we as a city should be wrestling with collectively to talk about and move on to build a future city. What we're talking about is recovery. We have to get to a point where we are talking about future growth, future investment in a finer city. And I believe that I have the opportunity to do that. I have fond memories of sitting in my living room with my Irish Catholic grandmother. She's a grandmother of 12. And I did imagine myself up here, and she would too. Because I care enough about my community to stand up here to tell you that we can do better. We can do better as a community. And I have the experience to do that to ensure that no one sleeps on our street at night. It's unacceptable. We can and should do more to ask more of the county and the state. The state continues to deliver all of the requirements, all of the other expectations, but oftentimes it doesn't come with funding. We have got to do a better job of ensuring that all of the other municipalities that are around, the mayor knows, we can blame the mayor, but the mayor is just one person in a city or a region of 18 different cities. So we have got to do a better job, and I want to give Wendy another hand because she's done a great job making sure we stand on time. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank the candidates on behalf of the League of Women Voters for attending and for running for office. As Mr. Mitchell said, it's hard work. And I want to thank all of you for attending tonight and following the League's motto, which is don't just be a voter, be an informed voter. And now, the Claremont League, Town Council.
And the Claremont Town Council thanks you, the League of Women Voters, for running this really well done forums that you do, and they're all volunteers, so let's thank them. We'll see two of you later on in the fall for another forum. And thank all of you for coming, becoming informed citizens and voting. I'll remind you that next council meeting, they're always the first Thursday of the month. In this room, 6 o'clock, so Thursday, April 2nd. We'll see you then, and thank you again for coming.
Background. Okay.
He's a stud. He can get it all figured out.
All right. So I noticed. Tell me when you go. Ready? So I noticed you've been really, really involved with our organization, San Diego United Communities. We appreciate that. You're in the fight with us. Can you tell us what your thoughts are in helping our fights with San Diego United Communities and the importance of it?
Yes, I came across your guys' group by accident. Just on the internet like everybody else. You find something on social media and I see a group, I see somebody saying something, and I see something I like, I'm going to pay attention to it. You guys have been working with groups that I like. A lot of neighborhood communities actually doing grassroots movements to actually make change. One of the groups you guys worked with and helped support
made change, not just in their community, but across all of San Diego. When the Encanto, community got together, they didn't just save their neighborhood, they helped save my neighborhood. And seeing that and trying to build that community is very important to me. So seeing any small group, whether it's a small little town council forming, or it's just 4 or 5 neighbors wanting to get together to talk about issues, I'm all behind. And seeing your group, who isn't just a small group, but a champion for all the small groups, I can't think of anything better to support.
Now, I gotta get you back to talking to the guests. Can you give us a shout out? Look in the camera and give us a shout out. Like, go San Diego United Community.
Whatever you want to say right into the camera, just think about it and then give it to them.
Yeah. Just
Go
San Diego
campaign
United
slogan, how people can get at you, support the campaign, whatever. Oh, I see that.
Come out to MikeRicky.com. Not only will you find me, you'll find other groups. I have links to friends that I've formed on this campaign trip, and San Diego United Communities is one of them. And you're going to stay up to date on their issues as well as my issues.
Just give us a go, because he has to get back.
Yeah.
Give us a go San Diego United Communities.
All right. Go San Diego United Communities.
Yeah, because he's got to get back to talking to his candidate.
I appreciate you showing up.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Hey, you did good, man. You was holding your own, man. You was holding your own. Hey, we need to try to get one of those babies. My name's Kenny. I want to San Diego United
Communities looking for candidates to endorse. Oh, why?
and this is for you. And you're hot, and we would like you to just say whatever you would like to say. So, if our audience, San Diego United Communities audience, you're hot.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Nicole Crosby. I'm running for San Diego City Council District 2. That's all Claremont, Ocean Beach, Mission Beach, Point Loma, Old Town, North Bay, and Midway. I live in Claremont with my husband Josh and our daughter who goes to San Diego Unified School. I'm part of the neighborhood, the Claremont Town Council. I'm the immediate past president. And development is really important, but at the same time, it needs to be intentional. The Claremont plan was recently approved, and it really focuses densification of our neighborhoods from the heart building out to make sure that our seniors can stay in our neighborhoods, kids can go to our schools, and working families don't have to drive very far. As a deputy city attorney, I do housing protection, civil code compliance. It's really important to know that accountability matters. I want to use evidence-based practices at City Hall to make sure that we're looking at our budget, what's the return on investment on any of the contracts we're entering, making sure we aren't entering into contracts with bad actors, and that the city is actually working for San Diegans, not for outside interest. We need to look at short-term vacation rentals. We need to look at making sure that the Housing Commission, return on investment matters, and just doing more for everyday people. Thank you, Nicole Crosby for San Diego. Oh, so please visit me at NicoleForSanDiego.com. We'll take donations. My phone number and email is there if you want to contact me, and I look forward to seeing you on the field.
Thank you so much. Thank you for stepping up and putting your name in the hat.
Heck yeah.
You know that part. San Diego United Community.
No, but where do you live?
I'm in D4.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get further out. I'm the one he embarrassed to talk about my mom and all that. That was unbelievable. He transformed right in front of me. And I'm like, dude, I don't know you like that. I'm not trying to fight you. It was ridiculous. So unbecoming of a public official. You got to go. You got to go. You know, and I'm doing everything I can to get him up out of here. We can do it way better than D6. Way better. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I'm like, Zach's talking about you, and I'm like, where is she? Like,
Yes. I know how hard it is to get you over to this side.
I know. We were so concerned. Here, though, I love the job. Yes, please do. I think that it's very important.
Testing, testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Are you? Okay, yeah.
I'm the president of my Rotary.
Nice. There is nobody. Yes, I want to speak to you. Yeah, I'll talk to you later. You go grab one. You go grab one.
The guy with the
No,
beard.
go ahead, go
The
ahead.
guy with the beard.
You're more legit. That's why we should get them on the outside and front as they leave. Hi, can we interview you? Okay. Hi. How are you? Is there any way to move outside? Is there any way?
I can use it in your area. I can use it
Is there any
whoever,
way to
yes,
move
let's go
outside?
right here. Let's go.
Here you go.
Right here.
All right, here.
Yeah, have a conversation with him. Have a conversation with him. Ask questions.
All right, so introduce yourself.
Right here.
You know, get on too. Come on now.
So tonight went amazing. Introduce yourself, and you're gonna look at it.
So I'm Mike Rickey, Claremont native. Can you hear me now? You're good? Oh, okay.
Can we do it over? Hi, we're with San Diego United Communities, and we were super impressed with your speaking today. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I appreciate that. My name is Mike Rickey. I'm a Claremont native. I'm running for City Council, District 2 here. I grew up here running because I couldn't find anybody to vote originally. You know, I saw a bunch of people coming out, and they just didn't fulfill the same obligations I think they should be doing. So I decided to come out and run. This has been a very interesting run for me. This is not something I normally do. I'm a merchant marine officer, ship captain. That's what I've been doing for over 20 years. As I'm trying to retire from that and be home more, the more time I spent home, I just kept seeing things that I just didn't like, didn't agree with. And as I talked to my neighbors, they had the same issues. Nobody felt like they were being heard. Everybody felt hopeless. And so I decided to get involved, if nothing else, to try to help build camaraderie in my community and have people have a voice that can be heard. And if that's me, if I can be a catalyst for that, then so be it.
Is this your first town hall?
This is my first town hall. Probably looks pretty bad out there. I'm just a normal Claremont guy doing this. I'm not a politician. This isn't my normal thing.
And I've seen you actually stand with us in United fights with San Diego United Communities. That's impressed our group quite a bit. What do you have to say about our organization?
Roland, and we want you to introduce yourself. Say whatever you'd like to say.
Sure.
To our audience, San Diego United Communities, under strong neighborhoods.
Sure. Hey San Diego, it's Mandy Havlick. I'm your candidate for D2. If you want the community to come back to City Hall, you need to vote for me. I want to tell you something that's real about politics. Our community is up for sale. If you're unhappy with the current leadership at City Hall, you need to vote for someone who's not tied to the establishment, not someone who's been endorsed by any incumbent mayor or the current District 2 representative. We've been ignored these last 8 years. I ran 4 years ago because our council member now, she lied to our community about the short-term vacation rental ordinance and the 30-foot height limit. I live in Point Loma. I live on a peninsula. It's a cul-de-sac by design. And the city will not follow the law when it comes to Midway Rising. Where we build and how high we build in our community, especially our coastal communities, it matters. I'm a mom to 2 teens, a wife to a Navy combat veteran. The Navy's what brought me here to San Diego. It's a privilege to live in Point Loma. I'm a survivor of child marriage. I know the power of community because it was my community that saved me from that experience. And so we need a city that's working for us, someone who's going to stand up for the neighborhood, someone who's going to stand up for the community, not someone who's going to just be that rubber stamp, go along to get along. We don't need that. We don't need that anymore. So you need to do your research. Look up these candidates. Find out who they're donating, who's donating to them, who are they aligned with, who's endorsed them. Because that's going to give you the sign of who they have been bought and paid for by. We need a city that works for us, and we need a fighter at City Hall. You can count on Mandy Havlick to fight for you. MandyHavlick.com.
Now, Mandy, we represent
Yes.
Can you give us a San Diego United Communities vote for me?
Yeah. San Diego United Communities, vote for me. Mandy Havlick for D2.
You just got a really excited.
Very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm a healthy broad. You know, Margaret's the first one. She's responsible for this.
I'm so proud of you.
She brought me into the community, and so
Ambassador.
we're here being the squeaky wheel.
We appreciate you. Much success.